The NFL trade deadline is just 3 days away, and the trade rumors surrounding this football team are flying off the handle, especially when they got rid of Chris Grier on Friday and installed the new GM, Champ Kelly. Rumors are coming in from Adam Schefter, ESPN, and Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated. Before we get into all of the latest, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because we will be live on Tuesday for the NFL trade deadline. And if the Dolphins make a trade before the Tuesday deadline, we will have a video breaking it down. So join the channel today. And when you look at this Dolphins roster, we have to talk about who they're going to trade away, not really trade for. They're sellers at the deadline, and the 6 most likely trade candidates are as seen on screen. Now, there is a polar bear on here, in my opinion, and that would be Mr. Jaelan Waddle. He should not be amongst the trade candidates, but we know multiple teams are calling Miami, asking of the availability of the former first-round pick and star wide receiver in Miami. The Dolphins need to sell. They do. They're 2-7. They have no chance to make the playoffs, despite what Mike McDaniel says, despite what Stephen Ross says about wanting to remain competitive this season and improve. The team would have to go 8-0 in their final 8 games to make the playoffs because you need to get to 10 wins. That is not going to happen, and the Dolphins should really start to focus on moving forward and rebuilding this team by basically getting a better draft pick. I have fully went on the train of, all right, now that you have 7 losses, it's time to focus on not tanking and losing games because the players on the field won't try to tank. But as the GMs and the organization, you should try to prioritize the future, I think is the best way for me to say that. And Jeremy Fowler of ESPN talked about the Dolphins potentially being sellers, saying the spotlight is on Miami to enter a build for the future mode. So far, it has staved off the temptation, but the interest in several key players, from wide receiver Jaelan Waddle to pass rushers Jaelan Phillips and Bradley Chubb, is prevalent. Moving a pass rusher feels like the most likely outcome if something ultimately goes down. And based off what we've seen from Jeremy Fowler, from Adam Schefter, who reported this multiple times, he expects one of Jaelan Phillips or Bradley Chubb to ultimately be dealt. So as the trade deadline passes on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, I would be absolutely stunned at this rate if both Phillips and Chubb are still on this Dolphins roster. And if that is the case, I don't know what changed because all of the reports indicated that at least one of them would be traded. And it makes sense. Miami doesn't probably have any plans for these two to be on the team long term. Phillips playing on his 5th-year option this season and an unrestricted free agent this upcoming spring. Bradley Chubb's contract makes him a probable cut or trade candidate this offseason for Miami in June to save some money. And we know Jaelan Phillips has been infinitely better. Phillips had his 3rd sack of the year this past Thursday against the Ravens. He's been the better pass rusher and run stopper on film, and watching the game, it's very easy to tell Phillips makes more of a difference, and the pass rush win rate is almost 10% better than the veteran Bradley Chubb. He will have more trade value. Now, what is that trade value? That remains to be seen. Many speculate it's a 4th-round pick. Some people believe it's a conditional 4th. I think the Dolphins could potentially net a 3rd-round pick if the market becomes really heated up and multiple teams are bidding for the services of Jaelan Phillips. I have a little bit of an inside look at what the trade value could be from Albert Breer. But before we get into that, predict it. Who gets traded? Is it Jaelan Phillips or Bradley Chubb? Or is it a crazy world where it ultimately is both? Type B for both, type their initials for the individual. This is what I was talking about, though, from Albert Breer. He said that Phillips, since he is still only 26 and has a lot of future value, is a person to watch at the deadline and actually named the Philadelphia Eagles as a team to watch. Now, he mentioned here, and this is the key part at the end, sounds like it could cost at least a 3rd-round pick to get Jaelan Phillips from Miami. Now, this report came in about a day before the Chris Grier firing. Like, it happened on Thursday afternoon. Obviously, Grier was fired on Friday morning. So Grier may have been asking for a 3rd-round pick. Who knows what Champ Kelly would be asking for in a potential deal as he's starting to negotiate on his own merit with some teams. But he also might feel the same as Chris Grier and want a 3rd-round pick. And I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world. Like, if the Dolphins held firm at a third-round pick and didn't trade him, and then they let him walk in the offseason, it probably wouldn't be smart. But if you're trying to drive a hard bargain and get that day 2 pick, like I'm all in. And I think the 5 potential destinations for him make a ton of sense. Most of them all in the NFC. The Lions need pass rushing help. The Eagles do. The Cowboys desperately do. And the Buccaneers and Niners. Niners, I know, traded for Keon White, but he isn't that good, if we're going to be honest. Jaelan Phillips would be a true addition. And the Buccaneers may choose to go all in. Like, I'll say this again. Like, I truly believe we are an absolute wild card. Like, who knows what Miami's going to do before the 4 p.m. deadline on Tuesday? Like, if we had Chris Grier still at the helm, I think we would know that, the Dolphins would probably make one trade. They'll trade away, like, Matthew Judon for a 6th-round pick, and they'll call it there. But with Grier gone, like, this team may actually be smart and trade Jaelan Phillips, trade Judon, trade Minkah Fitzpatrick, trade Rasul Douglas. Like, no one knows what Champ Kelly will do. No one knows what he will want in return for some of these players. Like, this could make Jalen Waddle available. Like, I don't think it should. I don't want him to be traded. But with new blood and new thought processes in the front office of Miami right now, like, what was written off in the past about Waddle being basically untradeable, and rightfully so in my opinion, but that's what the GM of the Miami Dolphins, Chris Grier, thought at the time. Well, that might not be the case anymore. Like, Champ Kelly might say, yeah, I mean, if we get offered a 1st-round pick for Jalen Waddle, like, we're going to trade him. So they might be open to listening to offers now for number 17. And in the past, that hasn't been the case. Today's show is sponsored by Ethos. Have you or a friend ever experienced loss, which has you thinking about how to secure your family's financial future? With life insurance through Ethos, your family is protected. Life insurance is a perfect way to make sure you're covered. Right now, you can get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. Ethos is an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. There is no complicated process, and it's 100% online. No medical exam required. You just answer a few health questions. Some policies begin as low as $2 a day, billed monthly, and as of March of 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That is ethos.com/NFL Daily. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Links in the description and comments of today's video. We flashed this on a show on Friday, and I wanted to bring it up again. Connor Hughes, who covers the New York Giants for the SNY, and the Giants have been the team linked to Waddle the most. I think them, Atlanta, and Pittsburgh would all be interested in Waddle services, but the Giants have certainly been the team that has had the most smoke around a Waddle trade. Well, he reported that he was told, essentially, that with Chris Grier at the helm, he was never going to trade Jalen Waddle. But with Grier gone, does that change? Like, Albert Breer had a similar report. In that same article that featured the blurb about Jaelan Phillips potentially being a 3rd-round pick, like, he said that teams asking about Jalen Waddle have flatly been told no. But, like, I'll make this point once again. All of this was pre-Chris Grier. Champ Kelly was working as a executive in player personnel. Could he have the same mindset as Chris Grier and have the same aligning beliefs in terms of what these players are valued as and how they should be assessed via trade and beyond? Maybe. But there is no saying that. Like, if Champ Kelly's been inside the Dolphins organization for multiple years prior to this, then yeah, I would probably say he leans the same belief as Chris Grier. But the fact that he was hired just this past March and has been in other NFL organizations since 2007, how am I supposed to know what he believes? He might have a totally different line of thinking. But I truly hope that he is the same, at least, belief system when it comes to Jalen Waddle. Because trading Jalen Waddle would just be an absolute massive mistake. It would be absolutely atrocious to deal him away. 26 years old, 3 years left on his deal past this season at a relatively fair contract, and he has just been dominating for you ever since Tyreek Hill went down with an injury outside of the monsoon game in Cleveland. He's been so good for the Dolphins. And I want him to be the wide receiver one of this team for the entire length of his career. I want him to bridge the gap from Tua to the next QB1 of the Dolphins for the future, hopefully. Whoever that may be. I need Waddle here for his entire career. Also, I wanted to show this. That's all we really have on potentially trading players away on today's show. But ESPN in this little blurb had trade candidates, the likelihood that they make trades, and what the value may be. But they also listed one potential trade target for each team. And the Dolphins trade target was absolute lunacy. Benjamin Solak said it should be Trey Lance, the Chargers quarterback. And here's the reasoning. Dolphins are a struggling team that should trade players at the deadline, but perhaps taking a midseason moonshot on a young quarterback makes sense while the team prepares for its inevitable split with Tua. McDaniel was the 49ers OC when San Francisco drafted Lance in 2021. This is beyond stupid. And listen, he works for ESPN, I don't. But this is fucking stupid. Like, it really is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I think Solak does a lot of good work, but I don't understand this one at all. It is beyond clueless, in my opinion. Like, Trey Lance sucks, dude. And the Dolphins have a better version of Trey Lance and Zach Wilson as their backup, and he sucks. And you also have 7th-round rookie Quinn Ewers. I'd rather have Quinn Ewers going forward than Trey Lance. Why on earth would they trade for a 4th quarterback? Seriously. In what world does that make any sense for the Miami Dolphins? Idiocy. Incompetency, some might say. If the Dolphins are going to make a trade for a player, which I don't advise them to do at this point, I was interested earlier in the year, but at this point, not really anymore. I know some people, and I said it, like, you trade for the future. Yeah, like, you just use it as a head start in free agency. I'm probably not doing it, but if you do it, you should do it like a corner on Nic Rohloff, who's 25, 26 years old, been a Pro Bowler in the past, going to be a free agent. And if you don't feel as if you are going to be able to sign him in free agency and you want to get him now and potentially extend him, well then, yeah, trade a 5th rounder for Nic Rohloff, a 6'4" corner that runs a 4.39 or a 4.29 or whatever it was. It was something ridiculous. Like, Nic Rohloff's an interesting guy. If you buy and trade for a player, Nic Rohloff would be someone that I would want to do. I named Greg Newsome earlier in the season, but he already got dealt to the Jaguars, so that ain't going to happen. Just do the smart thing and sell your veterans. Trade 2 of Bradley Chubb, Jaelan Phillips, Matthew Judon, and Minkah Fitzpatrick. Just trade 2 of them. I don't care which 2. Preferably Minkah and Jaelan, to be honest, because I think both could net a 3rd or 4th round pick and give you a lot of ammunition in the 2026 NFL draft. But yeah, just do the smart thing. Just please do the smart thing. That'll do it for this show. We'll have a video out tomorrow before Week 9 Sunday football kicks off. So hit that sub button and be on the lookout for more content.